So today we're going to go on a journey. I don't think it's going to be a wild ride, but it could be. At the minute I laid eyes on this man, I felt all the energy systems and downloads occurring in my grid that I've been nurturing within my body and mental and emotional and physical bodies. So we're just going to dive into the conversation. I want to welcome the author of Divine Genius, The Unlearning Curve, Adam Hall. Adam, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Susan. It's great to be here and exploring, well, the wild ride of it all. And let's see where these winds and this interconnectivity and all the magnificence wants to take us today.
Well, so what caught me is the tagline of your book, The Unlearning Curve. And as I was perusing it, I saw that your journey, your personal journey, had a lot to do with unlearning. So explain to everybody what that is, and then we'll backtrack.
Well, no, I love that because we often on the path, as we know, we're out seeking, we're whatever that may be for each of us. Before I was out in the world and it was about slaying, but that all changed around and it was about, okay, let's get on the seeking journey and let's see what we can find, not to take a journey of endless seeking, but to take a journey of enriching our lives. So I went on that journey and like many of us do, and you, Susan, as well, obviously had some tipping point or point of which moved you in that journey, perhaps, and I'd love to hear more of that from you. But ultimately, that journey began one of, voraciously wanting to consume what's available out there, was studying Eastern and Western traditions, reading voraciously, dropping into, books like The Power of Now, and I couldn't get enough. And, it's like, okay, I'm a very hungry soul ready for something greater than myself, because what wasn't working, although ostensibly I had it all, it just didn't feel good. So I said, what is that I'm looking for? But ultimately, kind of, fast forwarding here to your question, Susan, the idea of unlearning came with an aha moment that said, oh my gosh, I don't need to acquire anything else. This has been given. All that I need to do is to unlearn a thought. And the one thought was that I'm separate from my heart, my soul, my body with yours, our planet, our mother, our father, whatever you want to call it, separate than the quantum field. And no. So just unlearn that. So I brought forth the Divine Genius. The Unlearning Curve is saying, okay, here's a pathway that's a straight shot right through kind of the old inauthentic self into the authentic part of who I am. And I think you probably get a little bit of what I'm saying with that, don't you?
Oh, I completely resonate with that, Adam, because it is, and this is why we're all here, everybody. If you're on planet Earth right now, it's because you're here to unlearn the block and release the blocks that are keeping you from really knowing and being part of the oneness, the consciousness that we all are. And Adam, I choose to call that love. That, just to be that place of oneness in a high frequency of love. But so in Divine Genius, part of the path is you went on a mystical inner search, but you were also out in the world hiking mountains and Amazonian forests and all sorts of things, besides reading all sorts of ancient wisdoms, and which is a lot of what my path has been. And you came, or you were gifted, it sounds like, 13 wisdom teachings. So I'm curious about them, because each one, when I was reading each of them, it's like, this makes complete sense, but there's a paradox in some of them.
Yes. Yes, and that paradox is what is obviously creates the conundrum when we're on the path, because we don't quite go, oh, I don't quite get that. I mean, what is in the mystery of the unknown? Oh, I fear the mystery of the unknown, right? So we each of us begin our journey, and of course the key, which I loved about what you're begin to share, that we get to create our own path. It's not a path of a guru or a teacher. We are the force of power within our lives if
We
we choose to
are.
be that. And that frequency of love, as you referred it to it, is the one that really I felt called me. And it called me to take this journey that I share and the wisdom teachings that come forth in the divine genius, the unlearning curve. It called me to take the journey into that mystery, so to speak, and at the same time, keep my foot and stay grounded in this world. In other
Right.
words, the journey from my 3D everyday Adam, father of 3 daughters, grandfather of 5 daughters, beloved one to others, and service, but also a soul in my own learning and my own fallibility of my humanness. And in that journey that I took, I share the story of an 81-day quest. And in that quest it reveals these 13 wisdom teachings. And those teachings are profound because they're universal. All of us have wisdom. My goodness, I just have a 1-year-old granddaughter now named Jada, and she's sharing her wisdom with me, reminding Pops, as I'm known, to be magical like she is.
I
To
got chills.
remember,
I got chills. And I'm
right?
noticing, I've said this before, but since you brought up your granddaughter, the children that are incarnating now come in bright, very bright and shiny. There's no, and I wonder, I'm curious, used to be, my parents always thought they were teaching us, right?
Yes.
Teaching their children. But I am so curious to see what these new beings that are, or old souls, depending, are here to teach us. I really think that the kids that are coming in are not here to learn from their
totally.
parents. They're here to show us the way into a brighter, better.
Totally. I love that. And if you want to just take one quick second, I have an answer.
Okay.
Or a potential, and this is kind of whoa, where's this coming from? But let's listen, let's pay attention. If you let me screen share quickly, I'll show you a potential place for our answer.
Oh, here we go.
Just,
Everybody.
just quickly.
Hold on, I gotta undo. Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here she is.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, I love that picture, Adam, of your grandbaby reading your book. Oh, that's brilliant.
What is she saying to us about this piece of our lives to be in the curiosity?
Be in the curiosity.
Let's
Thank you for
be
that.
curious together. Let's explore what's out there.
So,
and have fun doing it.
Have fun. Well, and that's pretty much what life really is supposed to be about, instead of us getting so serious and acquiring and all that. So can we go back to the paradox of some of these principles? Because when I was reading the one about fear, and I can't find it now, I thought I had marked everything oh so carefully, but it talked about fear helps you practice true forgiveness. And that pulled me up short. Because so many people are in fear right now of pandemic, of, whatever, the sky is falling. And, but to see that as an opportunity to practice forgiveness, I did not ever put those two together.
Well, I love that you're bringing this up, because right now there's a proliferation of fear. We used to think of, they talk about all this war on this or that, and we had these levels of whatever they came up with, the orange level, this level. Right. Well, the fear level is quite high right now. I think we probably would agree on that. And I think many of your listeners and people that you are doing your great work with, Suzanne, are also feeling tremendous fear. So it's like, how do we lessen this grip of fear? How do we, and what are we fearing? Of course, it begs some big questions. And of course, what we fear the most is the unknown, of course, death, but we fear the unknown. So if you think about it, there is so much uncertainty in our world today. There's seemingly the COVID, the climate change. Our younger generations are going, what the F? Right. What are we doing? Right. Who do we trust? Can we even trust our government? Can we, all these things are like, whatever it is, there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of mistrust, which invokes fear, because then we don't know what's going on. And there's nothing more tricky than fear in our own inner psychology. So what I put forth is this idea of not just forgiveness as we know it, which is we traditionally think of forgiveness. Well, something happened to me, or I did something to somebody else. And this is not to be diminished to anybody that's had a physical or violent abuse or any kind of trauma at all. I honor that, and I feel that, and I hold you in your heart. It's only to say, to put forth, is it not time to free ourselves from our past and really leap into our future? And in the true forgiveness process that comes forth in the book, this is a way to move beyond our fear of even letting go of what happened. Mm-hmm. In other words, if we don't know what the future is, think about that, Susan, for a second. We don't know what the unknown is. Unknown. We don't even know, but we fear it. So we hold on to our past experiences. I mean, just think about all the people that are in relationships. And in particular, I have a deep empathy or compassion, let me say compassion, for a lot of the women in fatherless homes. And these are places that I can, only as a man begin to grasp. And I have a lot of empathy for these kind of situations. And at the same time, we hold on to stuff that no longer serves us. We stay in the same patterns, right? So we fear we fear the unknown so much in our future that we hang on to the past. And that's better, even if it's misery or difficult or disease or death or all that comes with it. So forgiveness offers us a way to go right through our own fears by recognizing, not for what is going on or what happened in our lives, but for recognizing what did not happen and what is not happening in this moment, in this time. And what is not happening is we forget. We are forgetting that place of our interconnectivity. We're forgetting that place of our oneness with each other, the oneness with our own soul connection, our oneness with the quantum field. And in that, we know that we have this interconnectivity of that love frequency that you talk about. Hopefully that makes some sense about the paradox between fear and forgiveness and why we don't let go and, these kind of things, because this is a time to choose, is it not? Right now, it's the time to choose. And it's interesting what you just said, Adam, because it explains to me holding on to my unforgiveness, also, and saying that it's the things that we didn't get to do or didn't get to be, explains, for me at least, the waves of sorrow I experience still, of what happened or what didn't happen. And they come up and hit me, I mean, it's like I'm just strolling on the beach and then here comes this sorrow knocking me over. And it's interesting too, because I was listening to a Michael Singer podcast earlier, and he was talking about, if you hold on, which is what I think you're saying, if you hold on
to your wounding, it doesn't help you. It doesn't benefit you. So if you are holding on to your unforgiveness, or so to speak, then you're just continuing to adversely affect yourself and
Well,
cause yourself
100%.
hurt.
I mean, you're on a sinking ship. And let me just
Yeah.
be blunt and straightforward about it. And that's what I think this is kind of the straight talk that we're all asking for, because, one of the key teachings and things I bring forth into divine genius is, to see things how they are, not for how we want them to be.
And that's
And
hard for people.
oh,
People
that's tough.
they don't even want to look. I mean, a lot of
No,
women don't even look in the mirror because they're in such judgment of a wrinkle or a whatever, that they're not even willing to face themselves internally.
right? I mean, and on the men's side, where we feel tremendous shame and
Mm.
unworthy to really be the men that we are here to be, to really show up more in our fullest capacity, instead of earth conquering, but to really in a greater service to the feminine and all these other things. Now, some people may not engage with that, but this is a powerful moment. This is a choice point moment on our planet. And, I love the conversation with you, Susan, because I think if anything, it's the invitation to the love frequency. We all get that. But the idea is, okay, what are we doing when we have those waves and those moments of sadness? How are we moving to that? And how can forgiveness, as put forth in Divine Genius, the Unlearning Curve, offers us a way through that, because it's about forgiving. What am I
I
forgiving?
love it.
So we think, oh, I can give something. And what returns, by the way, is we receive a letting go of the past, of the trauma, of the pain. And that no longer guides us, no longer pushes us, but now we're being pulled
Yes.
into our destiny, which is another wisdom teaching. Very powerful.
Yes, very powerful. So let's talk about the wisdom teaching about destiny. You have one on purpose, one on destiny. Let's talk about that, Adam.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. And just to kind of give a quick little snapshot of those teachings, and then let's dive in a little bit, on any of them or wherever we're going to go today. But it's forgiveness, it's purpose, it's death, it's the life force. I love the G. I love the life force, because when we go from death to the life force, we're reborn. We let go, we're reborn. We have peace, we have love, we have function, we have destiny, we have divine being, we have divine doing, we have involution, folks. Whoa, this
Love
is
that
the
word.
descent of the divine, the power of the universe that we can move through us. And then ultimately we have evolution and unification. So these are rich, rich teachings. And in the book, I offer insights and a process to engage and to really reveal your divine genius. But destiny is something that I love to connect with, because it's important, especially, in our human form, so to speak, in this journey. We feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I have nothing to add to the world. Oh, I'm this life. I feel like I'm the victim of this life. In other words, life is happening to me. I am subject to fate. My DNA says, my genetic line says, my mother said, my father said, ba, 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 ba. But yes, wait a second. There's more to this idea of faith. So what do? We create context and we look at destiny. And guess what? The beauty of our destiny is every single one of us has a destiny. And it's a function of one thing. It's a function of being a co-creator with your destiny. You get to decide your destiny. You get to show up and say, I want to write that story. Yes, I get the faded piece, but I want to move. It's like, what's moving me, pulling me forward, or what's kind of holding me back and I'm stuck in? And I get a lot of questions around this Susan, because our data and our climate change and our biological changes that are happening are extraordinary. And it's very daunting. But guess what? We have a destiny. And the great news is we get to write the outcome to that story. So destiny invites each of us to write that outcome. And I think you're writing a good one. I like where you are.
Oh, thank you. And as you were talking, Adam, I heard quite clearly that the ultimate destiny is to really integrate into oneness, into the all, into the high consciousness. And we can do that while we're still incarnated on this planet by doing exactly what you're saying, writing our own destiny. And I would invite everybody, to make sure you're doing it from a conscious place within yourself.
Yes.
And I know this is not what you're saying, but not what society's telling us. It is daunting. These are daunting times. And Adam, you were at some point in your book, your teachers, your spiritual masters and teachers said that you have messages of the coming era, or you are receiving messages about the coming era, which I think is what we're just living through right now.
Right. Well, thank you for that. And, I just love and inspired by our shared destiny. So that is a little bit of insight to how what I want to share with you around your question.
Awesome.
of those insights. And ultimately, I subscribe to a life view, a living view of the elegance of the universe, but of course the absolute stunning beauty and intricacies of Mother Earth and our biological and psychological connection and ecological connection with Mother Earth and each other. And what's happening right now that I find it's extraordinary is that we as human beings, not simply have the destiny and the co-creative ability to write our destiny individually and collectively, Susan, but what's extraordinary that I think is happening is that we've received an invitation. And that invitation comes directly from Mother Earth, from Gaia. And she is inviting us all to come into what I would describe as let's just say it's a divine dance with her into a deeper connection and a deeper intimacy of ourselves, and each other, but with the earth. And what is she offering in her invitation? And because when we're in symbiosis, when we're in a place of equanimity, of wholeness, of our divine mind and our divine genius in that connection with each other and earth, we're able to receive these messages. And what I found in my journey and coming into equanimity, and when I'm in that presence, of course, I get rocked out of it regularly. It invites me to be in my own forgiveness. But the point is in that nature that we're being invited to primarily by Mother Nature during these times of punctuated evolution, which means the rate of change is happening in a very short period of time, and 68% of our biodiversity is died off. It's an invitation for us to quantum leap into our greater potentiality. And what Mother Nature, she has the answer. She knows. And the answer that she says is, come in and attune to what is known in ecological science, is a segment of that called biomimicry. So come into a mimic Mother Nature, and here's the power of what she's offering. And I believe this is our moment of truth, to embrace this moment of regeneration.
Wow.
We in our biological nature are regenerative machines.
Right.
I mean, just think about ourselves as incredible, this human operating system, and how we're able to rewire the malleability of our brains and our belief systems, and all this extraordinary work that you're doing as well as others during this time. But the regenerative nature holds the greatest fertility and potency to really quantum leap into that genius, quantum leap into abundance, the abundance of our lives, to move beyond the simple this design and this mindset of ego and this idea that we're separate, which is absolutely ludicrous and insane, that we are from each other in nature, to really leap into that. So this idea of regeneration is what I'm seeing that's coming in. I'm not a person of prophecy or an oracle of any sorts, because I'm a determinist. In other words, in the way that you can determine the outcome of your destiny, that we can do that together. And that is yet to be written, and we get to co-create that destiny. And I believe regeneration is the ace card that we hold as humanity.
I love that. I love that. You have totally captured my imagination, Adam. So how does one begin to utilize a regenerative process within themselves, but then also to then send it out to others and send it out to the earth? I mean, this can be a non-local quantum thing, right?
Yes.
And it's not just, and like with the earth, it's not just, okay, make sure you recycle, right? This is a bigger concept.
Yeah. Make sure you don't create the need to recycle. So I love that. I love where you are with that, Susan. And it's so spot on, because and there's a lot there. There is a bit to unpack, and I lost my train of thought exactly where I want to go with that. But my sense is first and foremost, instead of getting in the how of our impact, the how to get off into the world with what to do with that. A lot of people are searching, well, what's my purpose? Well, what's your impact in the world, really? What's your mission? And, we have these missions, and we have these places that we're here to share our gifts and genius, right? But most importantly, we want to ground that. We want to ground that in this 3D body. It would have been easy for me to hang out in a teepee or a temple or in a jungle for a long damn time, maybe lifetimes. But no, that wasn't what Spirit said. It says, you got work to do here. Hang out with Susan today and see where we go. And the idea of this is something that you do so well in your work. And that is, really dialing people into higher frequencies of wavelength through meditation practices. And, on my Insight Timer, which is a great app for those of you that haven't checked it out, I've got a few things there, but one of the things there is this manifestation meditation. And what I love about this idea of tuning into this greater abundant field of the quantum field is how we, in this 3D body, when we can, our physicality, our psychology, and all this beauty that we are, how we can attune ourselves through a meditative practice, moving through the higher frequencies of alpha and beta and delta and gamma, all these higher abilities that we have in our meditative state. And I share actually one of those, that's part of the journey that I share in the Divine Genius, in this 81-day journey that I went on. But it brings us to a place of aligning our heart and our mind in this physical world with the abundance of the quantum field. And in that connection place, this is what we're talking about, how to step through and into that greater place of manifestation. Is that making some sense?
Yes, it does. Well, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. It's kind of like a no-brainer to me, Adam. But so I want to talk about one more of the wisdom teachings that you brought in. And it was, and you said in the book, you were kind of fascinated that this came early in the teachings. Let's talk about death, because that's part of the runaround that everybody's been doing for the last 2 years. Oh my God, I'm going to die. My friends are going to die. Everybody's dying.
Yeah. Yes.
So let's talk about death.
Let's talk about it, because we both, and every one of us know that there's, nothing more terrified. It's consistently voted the number one fear, and that's the fear of death.
Yeah.
And that exploration formed the basis of the book that I wrote, because in the early parts of the book, early on, I asked the question, can you get out of this lifetime alive?
Which is an amazing question. What's
Profound
your answer?
question.
What did they tell you?
Profound. It's profound in its implications, but it's extraordinary in its outcome. So long as you have the ability, which we all do, so long as we take the choice to choose to die consciously now. And let me explain, please.
Yes, please.
Because when we think of death, we think of course, our physical body.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, as we know, in the physical world will die, including the sun. That's not the point. The point is, what does that tell us about dying consciously? It tells us that, oh my gosh, if we think that life is only about birthing and dying in this physicality, then we will die. That is such a small part of the human experience. So that means that we are identifying strictly as a body, when in fact that's not true. I found that out to not be true. I found it out through experience. This isn't head stuff. This is deep knowledge. This is transcendent wisdom coming from ancient cultures and wisdom keepers, as well as the great bodhisattvas and teachers that are with us today. So in that journey of conscious death, I said, oh my gosh, Susan, I'm not going to wait to my last breath to decide there must be something else. There must be something greater to my life journey. So I asked that early on, and it became the quest for the Grail, as I said, the quest to return back to the castle, the old story of the Grail Knights and the Merlin and all of that stuff. But ultimately, I did realize get a load of this. It wasn't back to the kingdom of heaven. It was back to the queendom. That there was this magnificence of this great divine feminine that holds the capacity of the kingdom in its totality, and that we cannot have one without the other. So what was revealed in this journey of death is that, as the old saying goes, that those who die presently are the ones that truly live. Now, I was paraphrasing that.
Yes.
But ultimately, the idea of this is, okay, folks, we've heard it a million times on this path. We must surrender. We must let go of all that no longer serves us. Yes, that's true. And yes, we must die away to be reborn. We have the greatest gift ever in our human capacity, and that's the gift and the ability to transform our lives. And in the old Mayan cosmology, that was referred to as Kime, death, the archetype of death, the angel of death. But death is not just death, right? Death is dying and being reborn. Dying and being reborn is transformation.
Yes.
We are evolutionary forces that have the consciousness to transform our lives. Everything about it, our biology, our psychology, all of it. We have that power by choosing to die away from all that no longer serves us. And the beauty of my work with A Course in Miracles, it identifies one thing, not all of those jillions of things out there and one thing. There's one problem, and there is one solution. And this is a choice. And that one problem is simply our choice for this idea, and I emphasize idea, this thought that we could be separate from each other, that we could be separate than Earth, that we could be separate than from the universe. That one thought has created the world that we live in, the lives we live. That one thought has created the heap of mess that we are in. So I'm going on a little bit too much here, but that one thought of letting that die away, it is the core of the genius process that says we need seek nothing. The power lies within us as individuals. We have that power, no guru, no teacher, no priest, no nothing else. We've got that power to look right at that thought, where that thought originated from, and go back in our lives, have the power to go back and choose a new thought. And that new thought is the one that expresses our genius, that expresses our divine mind, our Buddha mind, our whatever that is for you, our interconnectivity with spirit, whatever that means. But it's choosing, making another choice. But we must die to do that.
It's interesting. I so appreciate you explaining this, Adam, because in my interpersonal journey and struggles, I'm well, being a redhead, I tend to go kicking and screaming. You can't make me. Don't tell me. And I do that, huge hang on twist thing until I finally let go and then recognize that all of that was unnecessary.
Right.
Because there was nothing against me. There was no one that wasn't there for me. It was just me battling my inner demons that did need to be slayed. You mentioned that word early in our conversation, that just needed to be slayed, done, off with their heads, kind of thing.
I'm inspired by your courage, Susan, because it seems, that's so evident, that's so obvious to us, and yet the path to that as a process, some people want to take the medicine and just kind of blow it all up. I can take the pill type of thing. But no, that's not necessarily the case. Maybe a few can or to do that. And there's a great potential danger in doing that, because we can blow the fuses of this incredible, elegant machine we call the human body. But ultimately, what I suggest is more of a pathway, a gentle pathway that invites us, because what I found is that it's very layered. I mean, I just am in a deeper layer right now with two of my three daughters, and really layering in a new place of presencing. And yet it invokes fear in my life, because it means I have to let go. I have to let go of even more parts of the story that was created through my own pain and our death of our marriage, and so it can be scary and it can be challenging, but there's a pathway forward. There's a pathway to move through this, and that's why I wrote this book to help bring that forth. And you're doing this great work around this idea of empowered life, and I just love that we're here empowering each other. You're empowering me, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. Didn't I tell you guys he's just adorable and luscious? Awesome. So Adam, the book is called Divine Genius, The Unlearning Curve by Adam Hall. Where can they get the book? And do you have a website for people to investigate more of what you do or find your insight timer meditations?
Well, absolutely. I most certainly, as it relates to the book, you can get that on Amazon worldwide. It's out in Kindle, paperback, hardback, and audio starting next week.
Ooh,
September
fun.
20th. So you can get that and you can enjoy that journey in that book. And of course, you can also go to my website, www.adamhall.solutions. That's www.adamhall.solutions. And by the way, on that website, I am offering this free little ebook. It's a great little book. It's called The Little Book of Genius, Wisdom for Abundance. isn't it time, Susan, that we end this lack mentality, this scarcity mentality? And so this little book of genius offers this wisdom for abundance, and it shares these 13 wisdom teachings, by the way, affirmations, some practices. And so that's available on the site. If you don't do anything, just do that. Get that and bring that home. It's a neat little flip book. It's digital, it's easy, and it's also inspiring, and it can help uplift this arts during these times seemingly that are a great challenge. So those are the two best resources. And of course, I'm on Insight Timer, and then doing a couple great events coming up later in October and in the end of the year. So there's a lot of exciting things that are now emerging.
Okay, so we'll have all that information in our show notes. So if you didn't catch it when Adam was saying it, they're there and you can go find all of that. So Adam, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your journey and the wisdom that you have been given, that you continue to follow. Thank you so much for being a light in the world. I so greatly appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited to be here with you. I'm honored and grateful for you to take the time, and all of your listeners for taking the moment to tune in and for yourself, and of course yourself, and that greater expression of who we all are as geniuses is a greater service to our planet. And our little Jadas, our children and our grandchildren that are emerging in the world. And coming up in October, we're doing a global oneness week, and it's a beautiful event. It's very powerful and profound. We did some good talks. I did a talk with Bruce Lipton and Alberto Villaldo and Lynn McTaggart and Chamonix Jane, a brilliant woman. And just really, really powerful things in connection, because this is our time. And, as we've been sharing a little bit about regeneration, let's do this together. We're not alone. We get to do the ride together and have a good time, if you ask me.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to be on the ride with you, Adam. So I'm just going to end with, and so it is, namaste.
Namaste.